Yeah?
Yeah, good.
Amazing, guys. Sorry about the technical difficulties. Thank you all for joining. Okay, so I'm going to try to, we got a couple people here as well in the flesh. So I'm going to try to position it. I think that's okay. Okay, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pop into the chat a Google Doc that has kind of the outline of the shear. It's on view only. So if you want to make notes on it, what I would do is I would make you can go to file, make a copy, and you can make your own copy and then make all the notes you want right in the document. Okay. Thank you guys for coming. So sorry about the technical difficulties again. Guys, you can take and pass. Take and pass. And first, I want to say thank you all for coming. It's really great to be here again and see such a nice turnout. I'm very touched that people came back after Monday's class. And I'm also touched at how many people reached out to me with feedback after that class, after I asked for it. So that's something that I really want to just share. It touched me and I loved it. And thank you for that. People had really nice things to say, so thank you. What we're going to do, if you look at the opening overview, is first we're going to do a quick recap of Monday for the people who were here and also for the people who are not. Then we're going to go, well, let me just say that the essence of the Step It Up program is a Monday night kind of basic level class that had a practical element at the end of it. And people were supposed to or had the option to, over the last several days, to work on that practical element. Then on Thursday night, which is tonight, we go deeper. We take the same topic, which is being in the present moment, and we look one level deeper. So the first thing we're going to do after the recap is to go deep, to go to a deeper vision of what does the Torah say about the present moment. After we see a deeper insight, so we're going to go one step further to try to make it a bit more real for us. And then we're going to, the third and final piece is a situation when we can most be present. So there's really 3 segments of the evening after the recap. It's a bit textual, I'll admit. So if that's not your style, I'm sorry about that. But there's some amazing ideas in there. There should be stuff for everybody to connect to. I'm personally very excited and I love this topic. I'm going to talk to you guys instead, because you guys are active. Okay, so a quick recap from last week. We said that the purpose of life is to go from potential to actualized. That there's 5 different words for a human being in Hebrew, and there's a hierarchy of those words. You go from the most simple to the most advanced. The most simple word is Adam, and the most advanced is Ish. Adam is the same word as Adama, which means dirt, and Ish the same word as Aish, which means fire. And all of life is trying to go from Adama to Aish. It's trying to go from physical potential to actualized energy. We all have a lot of energy inside of us, but we need to take that matter, that inert matter, and light it on fire and become passionate, actualized human beings. That is the purpose of life. But it's not so simple. An easy set of instructions, not so easy to pull off. And the reason is because Hashem made a little thing called the Yetzer Hara. Now the Yetzer Hara, translated as the evil inclination, is a very, very, very interesting, sneaky, difficult little guy. The Yetzer Hara is the voice inside of your head, and every human being has one, except for Josh Rotzbuski. He doesn't have a Yetzer Hara. But everybody else has a Yetzer Hara. That Yetzer Hara is the voice in your head that's trying to get you to do the wrong thing. It's the little voice in your head that says, no, don't apologize, it was their fault anyways. It's the little voice in your head that says, okay, it's not really stealing. You know, if I just skim off the top, it's not really stealing. It's the voice in your head that says, no, just 5 more minutes, let's hit the snooze button. It's the voice in your head that says, just 1 more cookie. We all have the voice. It appears in many different ways. It seems like it's us, but it's trying to get us to do the wrong thing. you could say in many ways, the job description in life is to outsmart your Yetzer Hara. It's to not listen to the voice in your head that's telling you that you can't do it and you're not good enough and you're just mediocre. It's to learn how to outsmart that voice and to strive for greatness. So we need to figure out, in order to do that, how the Yetzer Hara works. What are the Yetzer Hara's tricks? Now, one trick, a classic trick of the Yetzer Hara, is that it tries to disempower you. And the way that it disempowers you is to try to get you to focus on things that you cannot control. When we focus on the things that we cannot control in life, when we focus on, I find I have a hard time moderating my volume. How's my volume over here?
Impeccable as always, Dave.
That's the Yetzer Tov talking right there. No, but seriously, is it a bit loud or is it normal? Is it good? Okay. How is it for you guys? Good?
Amazing.
Okay. Okay. So one of the classic tricks of the Yetzer Hara is to try to get you to feel disempowered. The way that it does that is to get you to focus on things you can't control. So we'll always have a compulsion inside of our head, a voice that's trying to get us to dwell on things that we can't control. Namely, the future and the past. When we think about things that are happening in the future that we can't control, so we feel anxious. When we think about things that happened already in the past that we can't fix, so we get depressed. And we feel like a victim in life, and we are not in a place of action. It's a classic trick for the Yetzer Hara. Everyone's got it. You gotta watch out for it. So the question becomes, and one more point on this is, I think the reason that this is such a tricky trick from the Yetzer Hara is because, to some degree, thinking about the past and thinking about the future are actually sometimes helpful. Sometimes it's a really good thing, actually, to be reflective and think about your past. And sometimes it's a really good thing to plan and think about the future. So I think the Yetzer Hara uses the fact that it's sometimes good to get you to do it all the time, even when it's bad. So maybe 5 minutes of thinking about what you've done in the past is a good thing, but from 6 minutes on to an hour and a half, you're just dwelling in your mistake. So it's what seems like it was a good thing will ultimately be a bad thing. So we need to be very tricky. I came up with a metaphor that I shared on Monday, which is that regret or looking in the past is like a rear view mirror. So it's a very useful thing to have a rear view mirror in your car. But if you cannot stop looking at the rear view mirror, so then it becomes very dangerous. And the same thing is true about the past. It's very helpful to reflect and look back and behind us to help us become better. But if we cannot stop dwelling about the past, disempowered, and unable to grow. Likewise, it can be a very good thing to be in the future, but if we become anxious, always thinking about what's to come, and we lose contact with the present moment, we're also being hamstringed in terms of our growth. Rav Yisrael Santor had a great line, which was, all worries are forbidden, except when one worries about his worrying. Great line, great line. Okay, so what's our counterattack? Point number 2, what's our counterattack? Our counterattack is being in the present. The present moment is the only real moment. The past is gone, and it's in our minds. The future is yet to come. It's also in our minds. The only real moment that any of us ever have is the present moment. And it's the only moment we can ever do anything and make a change. And we need to learn how to come back and be and live in the present moment so we can take our beautiful ideas and our vision for the world and make them a reality. That's the power. That's what we're going for. So at the end of the shir last week, Monday, so I gave a practical example, which was try to think of 2 times per day when you say the word should. Because the word should is a very interesting word. By definition, it means that you're not in the present moment and you're thinking about something you should do in the future. Or if you say, I should have, so then you're wishing that the past was different in a certain way. Anyways, I hope that people found it interesting. It's a good thing to keep in mind in the future. Whenever you notice, the word should pop up, so that can be a cue for you to come back to the present moment. And we need to train ourselves and practice this art of coming back to the present moment so we can live the most empowered lives as possible. One amazing tool for coming back whenever you find yourself not in the present moment is to breathe, because breathing only happens in the present moment. The word to breathe in Hebrew, neshima, is the same root as the word neshama, which means soul. And I think maybe one beautiful deep idea is to explain the connection is that in order to actualize our soul, so we need to be in the present moment. Okay. That being said, I would like to share one story, and then we'll get into tonight's stuff. And the story is as following. There is a Hasidic Rebbe. All good stories start with a Hasidic Rebbe. The Alexander Rebbe, Rebbe Rachmiel Danziger. And he had a student. And he ran into the student. He said to a student, "Where have you been all day?" And the student said, "Rebbe, I was in the base medrash learning Torah." You know that. He says, "I know where you were physically, but where were you all day?" Right? Because we can be in a place, but we can be somewhere totally else. So right now, before we get into the first source, I want everyone to close their eyes, and I'm going to ask you the question, where are you right now? Okay. With that being said, we're going to move to part 2, which is a deeper insight into the present moment. What I'm going to do is I'm going to give you guys a couple minutes to go through these 2 sources by yourselves. Don't go to the next page. And I want you to look at these 2 sources and try to see something interesting in them. The first one is from Tehillim. The second one is from the Siddur. And they both hint at a very deep idea. So if you're in the room, turn to the person next to you and discuss. Do I have the ability to put people in chats? I don't think so. So maybe just everybody who's on Zoom, take a couple minutes to yourself. What do you say?
Are we supposed to look at them like against each other or individually?
You could look at them both individually, yeah, but they both hint at the same thing.
Focus on now, what I've experienced, like creation, like which is like life and like, you know, like like there's creation and there's destruction. You're always focusing on the present moment. You're always creating and you're always like that's a positive process.
I love that.
Super fun. Yeah. What other interpretations do you see?
Well, I know the answer, so it's not.
Yeah. Is there more than one answer?
Yeah, sure. Well, just one thing in particular going from it.
I see the same as Adam, like creation. If you're living in the present, and if you're living in the present, then like you have the ability to renew each day and like progress. Whereas if you're living like in the past, then you're not going to progress. You're not going to renew the next day. You're just going to keep living like I guess in the past and not be able to move forward. So like if you work on being in the present, then it's a positive path of renewal, I guess.
That's beautiful. Similar idea. That's beautiful.
I just said myself.
Much nicer. Much nicer. Almost a different word. Okay, guys. So there's a beautiful hint here. The verse says, Hashem, who makes great lights, which refers to like the planets and the stars, and those are the great lights. His steadfast love is eternal. Okay. The key in that phrase is the verb tense of makes. The verse does not say that Hashem is the one who made, past tense, great lights. Rather, it says he makes great lights. Present tense makes great lights. The first very interesting thing hidden in the first verse is that it does not say that Hashem made great lights, past tense. Rather, it says he makes great lights, present tense. Similar idea in the second source. It says, in his goodness, he renews each day continually the work of creation. The word continually there is the word that is very interesting. It means that Hashem is continually, always, constantly renewing the world or constantly creating the world. Flip the page and we'll see a very famous, beautiful book called The Nefesh HaChaim. Speak out the depth of what's happening here. In the first section is him explaining the inferences from the verses. He says, and the men of the great assembly who canonized the blessings of the Shema, they say there that Hashem constantly renews the act of creation. The specific term used is constantly, to denote every instant and moment. And this proof, which is to say that every single moment, Hashem is recreating the world. It's a mind-blowing idea. Hashem did not create the world, however many, 5,000 years ago, right, Waza? Not 14 billion. However long it is. But Hashem did not create the world back then. He is constantly creating the world in every moment. And this proof is explained when it's written to the one who actualizes or creates, in the present tense, great luminaries. It wasn't written that he actualized or created in the past tense, but rather that he actualizes in the present tense. The Nefesh HaChaim is going to explain. But I feel like I've spoken too much, so we're going to pass to Gabi Resnick to read the first paragraph.
Yeah.
Yes.
And as the men of the great...
No, one more time.
Oh, sorry. I know we just read that. The attributes of the Holy One, blessed be He, are not like those of flesh and blood. For man, when he builds a structure, for example, of wood, the builder doesn't create and materialize the wood from his own power. Rather, he takes pre-existing lumber and organizes it into a structure. After he completes arranging it according to his will, if he ceases his effort and departs, the structure still persists. In contrast, he, blessed be his name, created and materialized the world ex nihilo with his infinite powers. So it continues since then. Every day and truly every moment, all of the powers that make them exist, structure them, and sustain them are dependent only on what he, blessed be he, impresses upon them via his will at each moment, by the power and the influence of newly created light. And if he, blessed be he, removed the power of his influence for even one moment, in that moment everything would revert to nothingness and chaos. Beautiful.
Super deep idea. So Hashem did not create the world and walk away. Hashem is constantly creating the world in every moment. He's not like a carpenter. Carpenter, first of all, he didn't make the wood. He found the wood, bought the wood, and then with those created materials, he built a house. Hashem not only built the structure, but he made the material itself. And the second point is that a carpenter builds a house and then he walks away, and the house still stands. Hashem did not create the world and then walk away. Hashem, every single moment, is continually creating the world. If Hashem were to walk away, the house would collapse, the world would end. Okay, so the first major idea when we think about the present moment is that Hashem is creating in every moment. That's where reality is happening. An interesting way to connect to this idea, maybe, for those of you who are more experientially inclined, is to think of, if we think of the way that we breathe, so instead of thinking that we breathe, maybe think about it in the way that you are being breathed. God bless you. Think about it in the way that you're being breathed, right? Because we are not really breathing. I mean, sometimes we do it consciously, but essentially we are being breathed. There is something else, some other force that is emanating life into us. And it's true with the whole universe. Hashem is like doing that all the time. Hashem is doing that all the time. So by the way, when you get stressed, this isn't maybe an amazing idea. It's just to come back to the sense that Hashem is creating the world in every moment. And that means that we don't know what the next moment will hold. And it means that we're not in control of creating the universe. Hashem is creating the universe. It's in his hands. And sometimes that thought in itself can really alleviate a lot of stress. Okay, I want to go to the next source. So if you turn the page, there is a beautiful source that I think personally brings this idea in a bit more of a practical way, in a bit more of a real way. So we're going to pass it to Adina to read. That one, yeah.
In the holy book, Yesod HaAvodah, it's brought in the name of the Arizal. Each and every day, even each and every moment, is not similar to any other like it since the day of the creation of the universe onward. So too, no two human beings have been identical from the creation of the universe until now, and no individual can fix up what his fellow is meant to fix up. And it's essential to have conscious awareness according to the year, the day, and the moment.
I just love the source. I just love it. right? The first thing that is so amazing to think about is that there's never been a human being like you ever. With your personality and your skills, there have been people who are similar to you, but in all of the thousands and thousands and thousands of years of world history, there's never been another Carrie Miller. The only singular, one of a kind. You're a once in a universe phenomenon. That's an amazing, amazing thing. You know, these days it's so easy to feel like we're not special. And so I think capitalism in many ways, as a tangent, maybe it's not a tangent, capitalism in many ways dehumanizes us and kind of makes us feel like one of 6 billion people or whatever it might be. There's a lot of people in the world, but we need to remember how special we are. We're a once in a universe, not only once in the world at the moment, once in all of world history. There's never been another human being exactly like you. And that means it leads into another point, which is that we all have our own mission. Everyone has, according to their nature, their own mission. And you're the only person in the world who can fulfill your mission. Your mission is tailored around who you are as a person and the parents you had and the difficulties you've had and the strengths you've had. And no one can fulfill it but you. If not you, who? Who's going to do the mission that is yours? Okay. The other point here is about the present moment, which is that the Arizal is telling us we need to be aware that every moment is different. You know, when we get older, we view things as the same. It's the same old thing. It's just another month, another whatever it is. And time moves really fast when you get older because things just seem similar. You know, when you're young, I think of taking a 3-hour car ride when I was 7 or 8. A 3-hour car ride felt like an eternity. It actually felt like an eternity. It's like multiple fights, you know, just, are we there yet? Are we there yet? You know, and these days I could knock out like a 20-hour flight without blinking. Like a couple podcasts, Spotify playlists, and I'm there. You know, life really, really speeds up. And it's because we get old in the way that we think. We don't view every moment as different. When you're a kid, every day is different. We're connected to that present moment that every day is different. Everything is new. And we lose touch with that. We have to, if you look in the world, most old people are like that. Sometimes you'll meet an old person who's a young old person, and those people are very special, but most old people are old people. Rabbi Nachman says that it is usur, it is prohibited to get old. It's prohibited to get old. We have, yes.
Sorry, can I ask you a question?
Please.
But why did, like, what you're saying makes absolute sense. Like, of course I'm still young, but it does seem for me that, not every day, but it does seem like every day is the same. Even though my routine sometimes is different, it's not about the routine, it's something else that makes it seem that every day is the same. Like, what is that?
I think that the older we get, our brain naturally we move to a different part of our brain in how we process the world. And that part of our brain tries to see patterns and automate things. And that's just part of getting older. You start to be more judgmental and more prescriptive of your reality. So instead of having an attitude of, let's say, curiosity, where you don't know what the day holds, you don't know what's going to happen, you're just kind of in that present moment, like a child is. So then time moves slowly and you're there. Then we get older, we think we know something already. Like we have a script in our mind, and that really speeds things up. I don't know if that...
Yeah, no, I agree. Like, I think if you're a child, like, a lot of it comes from curiosity and exploration, and that's what you're doing as a child. But like, and also like, you're not making your day. Like, your parents are choosing what you're going to do in the day when you're a child. Now that we're older, we're choosing our day, and we're probably just not as curious as a child would be.
Yeah, there's some of that as well.
Yeah.
And I think a big part of it is also to appreciate that that's just naturally how a human being's brain works as they get older. So naturally, we just start to relate to life that way. And I think that the proof for that is that most old people are like that. I think also cognitive neuroscience proves that, but that's how we naturally will develop. So our job, says the Rizal, and says Rabbi Nachman, and says the Torah, is to say no. Is to say, I'm not going to get old. I will not let my life speed up and me kind of slide into the passenger seat. But we need to appreciate that that's naturally the way that we're going. We need to work very hard to train ourselves the other way. It's like, I don't know if this is a good metaphor, but everyone appreciates that when you get older, you cannot eat in the same way that you ate when you were younger. You have to take better care of your health because your body naturally functions in a different way. If you want to stay healthy, you need to be much more cautious. The same is true with being awake and in the present moment and alive. We need to work a lot harder the older we get to learn how to come back to that present moment, to learn to come back to life, not to get caught in our script, in our mind of what we think life is and what's happening up here. Questions?
Yeah, I feel like that's so true. But I feel like also at the moment, especially like because of COVID and like isolation or whatever, it's even more true.
Yes.
Because like it's so like I know me, I know I'm like negative Nanny at the moment, but like I wake up every morning and it's so bad, but I'm like, oh, another like Monday, like same day, and it's like so hard to find like something
Inspiration.
positive in it.
Yes.
So like I think this is such a good
Amazing.
class. Yeah.
Yes, I think you're not alone in that experience.
Yeah.
The days really bleed together.
Yeah, literally, I feel like it's, I don't even know what day it is. It could be Monday,
Yeah.
but like it's Thursday this week's just
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. Yes. Does anybody have questions online? Okay, cool. Keep going. There's one more very important point that I want to draw out. And I'm going to give you guys a minute or two to think about it. And the question is as follows. When we say a blessing on something, I want you to think, and I'm curious what your answer is, what is the most important word in the blessing? Right? Baruch, psh, Baruch, blessing, psh, huge. Ata, also huge. Hashem, tz, Hashem. Elokeinu, Melech Ha'olam, King of the universe. If you had to pick one of those words as the most important word, which would you pick? I'll give you guys a couple minutes to think. You can discuss if you're in the room.
It doesn't make sense. Or like attack. Why? More? Why that over Hashem? Because Hashem is the name which okay. I can't believe this is I was trying to rotate like that. I will not let my eye get old.
Depends if you're washing your hands. We can get grabbing tea.
What would you say?
You could read a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay. Mine is
I think there's different arguments for different words, but I think like when we're making a prayer, we're doing it obviously thank Hashem, but it's also like it's for us as well. So we remain like grateful and humble. So I think blessed because that's the only like opinionated word in that whole phrase. Everything else is like factual. Like Hashem, King of the universe, that's a fact. Blessed is like an attitude. Like we're like that's the only way that reflects our input in that prayer without action. So I think blessed. You don't give much facial. Can't tell.
I'll tell you the truth is when I'm in the middle of giving a class, like my mind is very much in the class.
Yeah.
So I'm like,
probably 80% there and 20% feels.
Yeah.
I could probably tell you
Yeah.
what you said, but into
Yeah.
the facial questions, I think it's like kind of taking cues from
I don't know what.
other countries.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Ah, so would it be in the present?
You can learn
Okay, guys. So look, I'm not the biggest rabbi in the generation. I'm not even a rabbi. But so don't listen to take my opinion with a grain of salt. This is what I thought. I don't know. Curious what other people would say about it. But this is what I came up with. I think the most important word in the blessing is atah. And the reason I think it's atah, and look, there's some other power words in that phrase, is because it's all about a relationship with Hashem. The fact that we can have a relationship with Hashem, that we can call the King of the universe, atah, you, is mind-blowing. It is an incomprehensible, unbelievable thought. That he cares about me as an individual, he created me, and that I can speak to him, and he can listen to me, and we have a relationship, potentially, is the most, I think, potentially the most life-changing idea that a person could ever hear. If they heard it properly and integrated it properly, I think the most life-changing idea possible. That's really my introduction to the next and final source. We're going to go to the next page, and we're going to pass it to Melbourne's favorite, the dark horse, Adam Letts.
What part of it?
Part 4. With visuals.
And so one of the essential principles of a fulfilling life is being conscious and aware in every moment and every situation. To be aware exactly what is being asked of you in this exact moment. When the great Rebbe from Kobrin was asked the question, what is the most important principle in living a successful life? He answered, to know what Hashem is asking of you to do in this exact moment. A person must always be pondering this in every situation they find themselves in, whether they be in times of clarity and light, or whether they be in times of darkness that are lacking vitality. What is being asked of us from Hashem right now? Next part as well. At times of darkness and despair, it is a sign that this person's destiny and purpose in that moment is to fulfill their purpose specifically within the darkness, and there is no other possible in that moment. Does that make sense?
Possibility.
Yeah.
But there's no other.
That's how it's written here.
No other.
Except through this specific reality.
Beautiful.
Amazing.
Beautiful. You know, oftentimes in life, people ask the question. They walk around. First of all, Adam Litz, people. Can I see some clappy hands on the screen? Come on, that was. So, you know, it's huge. It's a huge thing. I mean, if a person read this page every single day, how much would their life change, right? We walk around the world, and so many people are unhappy, and they think, well, what do I want? What's my purpose in life? And the questions that they're asking themselves are based around themselves. What should I do? What do I want? If we change the phrase and we ask ourselves, not what do I want, but what does Hashem want? What does Hashem want from me right now? We walk into a room full of people, and instead of trying to be the funniest person there or be in the center of the spotlight, we look around and we say, what is Hashem asking of me? So then, you know what? We'll get outside of our own heads. We'll get outside of our ego, and we'll look around, we'll actually see people. And we may see someone who's sad, who needs a hug. We may see someone who's happy, who we can go vibe with. But the key to being able to see outside of ourselves and to see other people is to ask ourselves and be aware in every single moment that there is a creator who is actively creating reality right now. And I can have a relationship with him, and he has a mission for me. You know, a lot of us stress about the way things are in the world. But we should remember that Hashem is the general manager of the universe. That's not our job title. A lot of us think we are the general manager of the universe. We think we know what's best for how things to unfold. We all do. But I promise you don't want the job. It's way too stressful. It's so much responsibility. The pay is not great. No benefits. It's not a great job. And you know what? We can't do it. And the great news is Hashem's doing it. So rather than trying to control our environment and to manipulate our environment to fit into our picture of how we want the world to turn out, can we rather just ask ourselves, well, what does Hashem want? Because Hashem's running things. He's in control. And He's unfolding reality in front of us. We don't have to control reality. The best thing we can do is just get on side, is just to get around reality. Life is a million times better when you're around reality than when you're not.
I have a question.
Yeah.
In the last paragraph, when it says at times of darkness and despair, it's this saying that when you're dealing with a hard time, or when you're going through a hard time, something terrible, is it telling you to deal with that situation in the moment? Like, is it telling you to deal with a bad time? Do you know what I mean?
I know what you mean.
The part
It's a
where
great
it says,
question.
like, at times of darkness, and then it says specifically within the darkness, there's no other way like out. You just have to deal with the problem. Is that what it's trying to say?
So I think what the rabbi is saying here is that we all have difficulties in life. Life has its difficult challenges. But we oftentimes make those challenges even more difficult because we resist them and we wish they were a different way, and we have sometimes secondary emotions that are there to deal with. And really, if we just appreciated that this is the way things are, so it'd be a lot easier to deal with. And if we knew that Hashem crafted this difficult situation for us to grow, for us to do something purposeful in it, so then it would be very different. So one example is Corona. Okay, Corona happened and it's happening whether we like it or not. So us being angry that it happened, or upset about that it happened, or wishing it didn't happen, that's a waste of energy, because the reality is it happened. And as much as we wish it was different, it is what it is. It's outside of our control. So we can alleviate some of that pressure and some of the stress by just appreciating that this is the way that Hashem chose to do things. And we can rather focus on making the best of the situation. And we'll be much happier, much more successful if we connect to what's happening as it's happening and just along with the ride. You know, another example, I mentioned something called secondary emotions. I think this may help bring the point out. You know, I'll give two examples. A person loses their wallet, right? So that sucks, objectively sucks. Now, what people often do is they will then say to themselves, I'm so irresponsible. That's so me to do that. And they'll then start feeling bad, and they'll start feeling shame about losing their wallet, right? I always do this. How could I be so stupid? How could I ever be so irresponsible? So those are all secondary emotions that the person is adding on to the problem itself. You know, or the person could, let's say, get anxious about it. Well, what about my credit cards? They're out there. So someone could get them. Someone could get fraud. Someone could spend my money. So all those anxious feelings about losing your wallet, those are also secondary emotions that the person is adding onto it by not embracing the situation. So maybe the best thing to do in that moment is say, lost my wallet, that really sucks. But I know that if I feel badly about it, it's going to make it worse. I know that if I'm anxious about it, it's going to make it worse. So that's it. That's it. I lost my wallet. And you'll find in life, most of our issues are when our problems with what happens.
Georgie lost her wallet yesterday.
So we just send her the end clip.
Yeah, she's not happy.
Do you think it could be saying that, like, dafka, like, so usually when we go through our life, we try to ask ourselves, in this moment, what is Hashem trying to tell me? what is Hashem asking of me? What is my purpose, my mission? And it's saying like maybe like dafka in the darkness in and of itself is the indicator of what to. I'm trying to make it like the darkness is the purpose.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
Yes, and it's
like, does that make sense? Like the darkness in and of itself is the sign. So like even more so, it's more clearer in the darkness. It's more clear in the darkness that like your mission becomes clearer because does that make sense?
a lot of, well, it's harder to connect to that in the darkness for most people.
Yeah.
Right? When most people are in the dark, they stop connecting to life and stop looking for what is being asked of them, and they kind of withdraw in themselves. Well, you'll find that great people shine in the darkness because they appreciate that. This is the moment when something's being asked of me. There's an opportunity here.
You know, I kind of like relate to that. One of my friends is really sick at the moment, like she's got bronchitis, and I said to her, maybe this is a sign of you just needing to stop what you're doing, like stop being hectic, stop being busy, just be in the moment. And I think that physical sign of her being sick, although it's not such a good thing, I think it's an actual like metaphorical sign for her to physically and mentally stop and be in the present. And this has like actually helped her realize what she needs to reassess and stuff like that in her life. So I think that's very similar to what you said. Wow.
Beautiful. It's very deep. Okay, guys, we have 5 minutes, so I'm just gonna wrap up. I'm gonna wrap up with a quote from one of the all-time. He's in my Hall of Fame, the Rabbi Shlomo Carlebach. He's amazing. So he says, "Evil's always new. Imagine if you do something wrong, you swear to yourself you'll never do it again, right? So how come evil returns the next day? The answer is very simple. Evil has a newness to it. So how do you fight evil? With even more newness." So my blessing to everybody here is that you don't get old, is that you have the capacity to fight the Yetzer Hara in your head. It's telling you that you're not special and that you're not good enough and it's getting you old, with even more newness. And you come back, and you keep believing in it, and you stay positive. And whenever you get overwhelmed, you can just breathe and know that in the present moment, that's where reality is happening, and that's where you have the most power. So in summary, the first point, Hashem is constantly creating the world at every moment. Secondly, on a more personal level, through becoming attuned to each and every moment, we can develop a relationship with Hashem and therefore figure out and fulfill our purpose in the world. And three, and especially in difficult times, which we all experience in one way or the other, that's when we most need to stay connected to the present moment, to focus on what we can control. And remember, the situation is designed by Hashem as part of our purpose. As I said on Monday, please, I love feedback, good or bad. So please message me, email me something, tell me your thoughts, questions, all of that stuff. And thank you for coming. I really enjoyed it. Thank you.
Thanks, Dave.
Thank you, David.
Thank you, David. It was great. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Thanks. Bye.
So good. Can I ask about the last? So